Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another class of Life School Teachings with Joel Kayode. Please feel welcome. And in this teaching, I will be sharing with you the concept of attaining good success by disrupting the norm. The concept of attaining good success by disrupting the norm. So this teaching I have titled Dare to be Outlaw. Dare to be Outlaw. So what do I mean by that concept? Let's keep the ball rolling. At the end of this teaching, you will learn the secret of outstanding success. You will learn how to disrupt the status quo by building your unique life around your place of strength. Then you also learn how to make impacts in your world. So let's keep the ball rolling. This subject of discussion brings to mind around the year 1998, when I first grabbed the understanding of the message of being unique and different, so as to achieve a unique kind of result that is different from the populace. I remember the first action step I took then was to start reading, which was not a norm in my circle as at then. We only read to prepare for examinations. But one of the instances the preacher gave that prompted me to start reading was that life itself is a big everyday examination that one needs to study for, so as to get answers from other people's experiences. So I started out my revolution of uniqueness by starting reading. I looked for every common attributes and attitude and every other behavior that was trending as at then. And I started behaving against such. I even go to the extent of growing my hair to afro when everybody around me was carrying low cut. Dear friend, why the message of being unique and different is beyond just reading and carry afro hairstyle, but the essence of those instances, they are personal to me because they are practical action steps that locked me into the message of thinking differently apart from the public opinions. And this message still informs all of my decisions to date. As at now, I still always dare to be different. The personal experience instance I just gave you is just to introduce you to why you should also dare to be outlaw. So what does it actually mean to be outlaw? Or who is an outlaw? Let's start from there. Who is an outlaw? To convey my thoughts right about this concept of outlaw, I have to consult various dictionaries to find the right statement to convey my real thought about the word outlaw. But all I found were negative meanings, and those meanings were contradicting my real thought of this subject matter until I searched for the dictionary.com, and that gave me the right statement to express my real thought about this subject matter. And the definition I found from dictionary.com simply says, an outlaw is a person who refuses to be governed by the established rules and practices of a given group or society. Did you got that? Let me do that again. An outlaw is a person who refuses to be governed by the established rules or practices of a given society or a group. And if you will critically check this definition of an outlaw, then you will see the relativity with the personal instance I gave earlier as an introduction. So to be precise, or to be simply put, an outlaw is a nonconformist with the norm of the majority. An outlaw is the disruptor of the status quo. So when I'm talking about an outlaw, I'm talking about the fellow who interrupts the normal course and deviates from the general path that is being followed by the majority. That's an outlaw. That's an outlaw. But as numerous as the advantages of being an outlaw are, there are also challenges that you have to face if you made up your mind to be an outlaw. And remember, when I'm talking about an outlaw, I'm actually talking about a nonconformist with the norm of the society. When I'm talking about an outlaw, I'm talking about the disruptor of the status quo, those that deviate from the general path that the majority of the society are being followed. Take, for instance, within an organization or a society, many times an outlaw is usually mistaken for a rebel. They call them disturbance or nonconformist. Therefore, an outlaw usually has to bear so much disgruntlement from other conformists. That explanation brings to mind my experience at my last place of work. My manager then was a sort of a dictator, and I, as an outlaw and nonconformist, many a time when he gives instruction, he doesn't like anybody to talk anything thereafter. But I, being my own programming as an outlaw, I will like to make my own suggestions or ask him for better clearance. Therefore, I have to bear so much disgruntled with other people. They see me as a disturbance or a nonconformist. And I was actually in the black book of my manager then. So if you made up your mind to be an outlaw, someone that dared to be different, then you will have to bear some challenges and disgruntlements from every other person. But remember, the truth remains that it is the outlaws who are the builders and creators of the new order in our society. Did someone got that? I said, the truth remains that the outlaws are the builders and creators of the new orders of our society. And I would like to give instance to explain my point better. And to explain that, let me give you an instance of a person you all know as Mark Elliott Zuckerberg, whom so many people know as Mark Zuckerberg. And the moment I mention Mark Zuckerberg, what comes to your mind? That's Facebook. That's Facebook. So history made me realize that Mark Zuckerberg started his idea of Facebook as a website when he was still a student. And by the time he launched that site, under a week, it became so popular with the students to the extent that the Harvard management has to shut down the site. Why? First, they thought of him as an outlaw because how dare him start out a sort of a business while he is still a student? And to so many students, why so many other students are just in school, attend the class, study their notes, write examination. So how could he dare to be different by starting a sort of business even when he is still a student? So to complete his Facebook project, he has to drop out of school. And I believe by the time he was dropping out of school, the school management will see him as an unserious student. Even most of his classmates and other students will see him as a rebel, a non-conformist, unserious fellow who couldn't endure to finish his program, get his certificate, so he could get job afterward. But here is an outlaw, a non-conformist, who dared to step out of the general path of just being a student, get a certificate, and started looking for job. That was not Mark Zuckerberg. He decided to tread another path. He decided to disrupt the norm. So he stepped out of school to finish his project of Facebook with some of his class roommates. So what am I saying in essence? By the time Mark Zuckerberg finished the project of Facebook, it became a huge success. And I can bet it with you that he would have employed some of his classmates, those who were his schoolmates as at then, who were only abiding with the norm. I mean, who were conformists and just want to study, get certificate, and started looking for job. But here is the man who disrupted the norm. He decided to step aside, disrupt his academic work, so he could finish his passion. He could achieve his passion. So that's the explanation of the point. When I said the outlaws are the builders and creators of new orders in our society, assuming Mark Zuckerberg has also jettisoned his dream of Facebook, then there wouldn't have been a change, a great change in the way we socialize and communicate as at now. So, dear friend, it's time to deviate from that popular path that you have been journeying. It's time to pause and discover what you are truly configured for as an individual. It's time for you to chart your own path rather than being a conformist. It's time to discover who you are. Instead of you started struggling on the path that is generally acceptable to everyone. So before capping it all, let me share some points why you should dare to be outlaw. I'm talking why you should be a non-conformist, a fellow that plays by different sets of rules. But before then, let me first establish who a conformist is. You can see I have been using both words, an outlaw and a conformist. And I told you that the outlaw is a fellow who refuses to be governed by the general norms and practices of the society. So now, who is a conformist? A conformist is a person who conforms unquestioning to the usual practices and standards of a society. With this definition, you can see that a conformist is an antonym to the word outlaw. So this definition says, conformist is a person who conforms unquestioning to the usual practices and standards of a society. A conformist is the fellow that lives on public opinions and aligned only with the decision that is generally acceptable. These are the fellow that will only do the business that they know is trending. These are the people that only base their life on things that are generally acceptable. They never dare to be different. Take, for instance, A good instance of a conformist are those that went to school with the general mindset of getting a job after the graduation. What a warped way of thinking. How dare you say the reason why you want to go to school is so that you can get a job afterward? And I said that's a warped way of thinking. That means you don't really have the understanding of what the word education actually means. Education was actually meant to augment your mindset, fine-tune your reasoning for the capacity of providing answers and solutions, either for your personal problem or the society problem at large. So when your thoughts have been warped or your right reasoning has been disrupted, that's why you started taking the norm, which is the path the majority are following, that the purpose of education is so that you could get job. But there is a question I ask for such people. If everybody that has been to school went there with the aim of getting job, then who is to create such job? You remember the instance of Mark Zuckerberg that I gave? He stepped out of school so he could create Facebook. That means it is the outlaws that made job available for the conformists. That's the point I'm pushing. The outlaws made job available to do for the conformists. Why? Because most conformists are with the mindset of going to school so they could get job afterward. So it is only those that disrupt such norms that were able. That's why I said they are the builders of our society, because they are the ones creating job for the conformists who went to school so as to get job. And mind you, job concept mindset is the broad way the majority of conformists tread as a medium of economic strategy. And that is the reason behind the struggling of many and their limited accomplishment. The truth about job is, as an economic strategy, is that there is limitation to what you can accomplish per time, since your worth is dependent on someone else's measurement. And by that I mean someone has to do your appraisal. And likewise, there is a queue and lead to a position you can get per time, because until somebody moves at the top, your life will remain static. And that is the instant picture of a conformist I just painted to you now. That is why conformists always have limited accomplishment, because per time their life are always being subjected to appraisal of others. So now back to the focal point of this teaching. I mean, why you should dare to be outlaw, why you should dare to play by different set of rules from the generally acceptable way of the populace. So therefore, the following are the benefits and profitability of being outlaw. And once again, remember, for emphasis sake, I said outlaws within the context of this teaching is that fellow who refuses to be governed by the established practices of the society. That's who an outlaw is. Therefore, the number one benefit of being an outlaw is being an outlaw aids you to achieve good success. That's the number one thing that being an outlaw will do for you. It makes you achieve good success. Dear friend, while there are successes, but there is something called good success. For instance, think of a man that went to school and diligently got all the right certificates, and he became group managing director at Dangote Group. For you that doesn't know Dangote Group, Dangote Group is a group of business in Nigeria, West Africa. It's a group of business that has their business tentacle extend into different industries, such as oil and gas, fertilizer production, even car assembling, and so on and so forth. So I'm giving an instance of a man who went to school and diligently got all the right certificates to become group managing director at Dangote Groups. Will you say such a man is not a success? He is surely a success. Then what do you think of the man Dangote? I mean the founder of that business group, who probably got his own certificate after he founded his business. And he never even went to school with the mentality of getting a job afterward. But he went to school with the mindset of providing solutions. Don't you think such a man is the man with good success? He is the one with good success. And that is one of the things that being an outlaw, it will aid you to achieve good success by jettisoning the job concept mentality of the majority. But rather you are following your passion. You will surely achieve good success because you are walking the path that is less traveled by the majority. While majority were looking for certificate so they could get job, you were following your own passion about a particular production of a particular solution. After graduation, you are learning, you are opening up your mind to ideas. Therefore, you are traveling on the path that is less traveled by majority. And that's what will make you achieve what I called good success. That's the number one thing, that being an outlaw. And remember I said, an outlaw is a person who refuses to be governed by the rule or practices of the majority. So number two, being an outlaw will immortalize your being. It will immortalize your being. What do I mean by that? If you have the aim of living beyond your age and generation, if you intend to have your name lives on, even after you must have lived the surface earth, then being an outlaw is the way to go. Let me use an instance of Steve Jobs. Do you know Steve Jobs? Have you ever come across the iPhone, iPod, iPad, and so many other high products? Then if you have ever used or came across the logo of a bite apple, then the name that comes to mind is Steve Jobs. History recorded Steve Jobs as an outlaw who quitted the normal schooling for a special knowledge that founded Apple. History also made me realize that Steve Jobs also quit the normal schooling and he went for special knowledge. And that's what led to establishment of Apple, the device you so much love and you are using today. That's another outlaw. So today, when you are using the product, any product from Apple, either the iPhone, the iPod, the iPad, the laptop, all these products has immortalized the man Steve Jobs. That's his memory living on. That's a man living beyond his generation and age. Why? He lives in those solutions he has offered before he passed to the great beyond. So if you also want to live beyond your generation and time, you want time to remember you after you must have passed on, then being an outlaw is the way to go. So if I may ask, what kind of knowledge do you actually need? Maybe it's time to challenge the status quo of formal education. Just like Robert Kiyosaki said in his Rich Daddy Poor Daddy book. So I'm talking to you today. It's time to think about it. What kind of knowledge could keep you immortalized if you will implement such idea? That's a question for you to decide on. What kind of knowledge do you need? Do you actually need to go to that school? Do you need to go to the university? Maybe what you need is a technical school. It's time to think rather than just following the norm that is generally acceptable in the society. It's time to pause and think where your strength lies. Number 3, benefit of being an outlaw. Being an outlaw will aid your fulfillment and satisfaction. Being outlaw within this context means you are not trekking unfamiliar territory. So with this point, when I said you should be an outlaw, it means you are not treading unfamiliar territory like the rest of the majority. Rather, you chose to build your life around your strengths and what could offer you unique opportunities. That's why I said being an outlaw will help you achieve fulfillment and satisfaction in life. Why? Because it will help you build your life around your strength and what will offer you unique opportunity rather than following the general path of the majority. To buttress that point, let's think about Lionel Messi. Assuming Lionel Messi decided to be an engineer, if he should follow the normal norm of going to school, get certificate, and he decided to be an engineer, definitely with his present form of resort in the world of football, I could bet it with you that he will be a struggling engineer. Why? Because he will be functioning outside his place of strength. His natural strength was meant to play football. But if he had struggled to become an engineer, it would have been a struggling one. He wouldn't have found fulfillment. What of an instance of Tiwa Savage? Tiwa Savage is a hip-hop singer, a lady hip-hop singer from Lagos, Nigeria. Or what do you think of Rihanna? If this duo had struggled to follow the popular path, probably to become a banker, they would have just been as rich as their salary. Or what do you think? They won't even be famous beyond their offices. But instead of now that they are commanding the global fame and riches. So that's the point I'm making. That being an outlaw helps you build your life around your place of strength that will offer you unique opportunity. And thereby, it will aid you to find fulfillment and satisfaction. So it's time for you to SWOT analyze your abilities so as to discover your unique potential to build your life around, rather than you struggling with the status quo. The status quo that you are not naturally wired for. When I'm talking about you being wired, let's look at a fish. If a fish should be taken out of water, what do you think will happen? The fish will be functioning outside its place of natural configuration. So that's what happens to anybody that is function outside the place of what is naturally configured for. You will struggle. A fish that is outside, living outside the water, will keep struggling to survive. So that is why you have to SWOT analyze your abilities. And when I'm talking about SWOT analysis, I'm talking about you to check for your strength. What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities available to you? And what are the threats to those opportunities? If you will check, analyze your ability, your potential in such manner, it will aid you to where you should build your life around your place of unique opportunity. So it's time to check that. What do you think? If you want to find fulfillment and satisfaction in life, it's time to check for your natural strength and build your life around it. Number 4, I said, being outlaw will make you a champion. Being outlaw will make you a champion. And who is a champion? A champion is a person who fights for another or defends a cause. Simply put, a champion is a person who won for others. And that's who an outlaw is. An outlaw challenges the norm or oppression that is being endured or conformed with by the majority. A outlaw challenges such. And a good example I can give to buttress this point is the man Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela won the battle of apartheid for the people of South Africa. So today, the United Nations has a special day called Nelson Mandela Day. That's a champion. That's a champion. That made him a champion. So that's another thing that being outlaw, who doesn't follow the general norm, will help you achieve. It will make you a champion. Even our Lord Jesus Christ was non-conformist. The Lord Jesus Christ was a champion for all. He's the champion of the whole world. Remember, the Lord Jesus Christ disrupted the norm and status quo of the Jewish law. And that is why they decided to kill him. Why? Because he died as a champion. They decided to kill him, not knowing that they are helping him to find fulfillment of his purpose in the first place. So he died as a champion to give life to the whole world and deliver whosoever would believe in him. Deliver them into the liberty of the sons of God, where there is no condemnation. So if our Lord Jesus Christ was a non-conformist, then you should think twice to be a conformist. So to round up, due to time constraint, let me give you this last point. Outlaws are pathfinders and builders of our world. You see, our world was given to us in raw form of bushes, forests, land, and waters. Excuse me. It is just like having a raw crude oil, which is not useful for any engine until it is refined. So that was the way our world was. It was just like a crude oil that has not been refined. So every conveniences you are enjoying today, be it your shoe, your clothes, your houses, your cars, the buses, even plane and communication gadgets that you are all enjoying today, even the device you are using to listen to me right now, and so many other works of art, science, and technology, they were all made available and possible by the outlaws who disrupt the norm. Take, for instance, think of a man who was tired of sitting on the floor and find a path to bring about a sofa or chairs. And history traced that invention of chair to early Egyptian royalty. It was those royalty that brought about chair invention. So the truth I'm pointing out is that an outlaw got fed up of sitting on the floor. Then he thought out of the box to build a world where chairs has become paramount. Outlaws build our world to what we are enjoying today. That's what I'm saying. Outlaws build our world to what we are enjoying today. So now, if some other people have dared to make our world what we are all liking as of today, the world where you can hear and see your friend and relative in millions of miles away, just with a small device on your palm. The world where you can move from one distance to far away place within few hours without stress and sweating. The world where you can change the atmospheric condition of your room just by pressing a button. That is the world that has been built by some outlaw from the past. Those who broke the norm, disrupted the status quo to invent the convenient future that you are enjoying today. So my question to you now is, what are you doing? Or what are you going to do if you haven't started? That is the purpose of today's teaching. What are you going to do to invent the future for the generation next to enjoy? In what aspect or industry are you contemplating of making the difference? In what area of life are you ready to disrupt the norm and shatter the status quo? Dear friend, all eyes are on you now. You are the hope of the future. Just as some in the past has made it upon themselves to make you enjoy all the conveniences you are enjoying today. Therefore, it is your own turn. You can't afford to stay on and maintain the status quo. You can't just live to pay for bill, for that will be a bad omen for the future. It is time for you to dare to be different. It is time to be an outlaw. Remember, I said an outlaw are those who refuses to be governed by the usual practices and norm of the society. An outlaw play by different set of rules. An outlaw build their life around their strength. An outlaw step out of the general path of the society to find their own purpose, build their life around it, and make the world a better place that we are all enjoying. So, dear friend, you can't dare to just be a norm. You can't just live to maintain the status quo. It's time to dare and be an outlaw. And that is the wisdom I've come to share with you today. And I believe if you will put the point in this teaching to actions, it will help you achieve good success. You'll be the finder and builder of your world. It will help you achieve satisfaction and fulfillment. So till I come your way again, in the next subject and class, till we meet again, I say, cheers to your success.